I based the springboard for this video right here, the takeaway for this video, on what Benjamin Franklin said 2 centuries ago. He said, whoever would give up essential liberty for a little temporary security deserves neither liberty nor security. My translation would be, don't ever trust any political parasite, no matter what promises they make you, no matter how good what they say sounds. This is H.R. 8. The act is called the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019, and its purpose is stated as, the purpose of this act is to utilize the current background checks process in the United States to ensure, that's a promise, individuals prohibited from gun possession are not able to obtain firearms. And we know how well prohibition works in the United States. Alcohol prohibition, drug prohibition. They want a prohibition. They're so good at prohibiting things that they can't even keep drugs out of prisons. Go figure. Now, what they tell us is that H.R. 8, this Background Checks Act of 2019, this Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019 is supported by 95% of Americans. Listen.
Some 5 months ago, on February 27th, 2019, the House of Representatives passed a bill, H.R. 8, a bill that is supported by over 95% of Americans. Passed the House of Representatives and sent to the United States Senate, where, sadly, it languishes.
Okay, so he is saying, and who this guy is, this is Steny Hoyer from Maryland. He's saying that 95% of Americans support this bipartisan resolution, this Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019 that's supposed to utilize the current background checks process in the United States to ensure individuals prohibited from gun possession are not able to obtain firearms. And we know what a background check is. That's against the Second Amendment. That is an infringement. So Steny Hoyer is saying that 95% of Americans consent to an infringement on their rights. Now, here's my question. If 95% of Americans are for what Steny Hoyer is saying in this video right here, why are 90%, look at this, the like ratio is 10.7%, which means the dislike ratio is about 89 or 90%. 89 or 90% dislike what he says in this 2-minute and 31-second video. They do not agree with what Steny Hoyer here is saying. Here are a couple comments. These people don't care about us. They're wolves dressed as sheep. This one says 50 Americans lost their lives in Chicago last month, but you don't care. This one says they're lying about the 95%. What else are they lying about? They're professional liars. How about background checks for politicians? Try them for every infraction. I scrolled down here. I didn't see one positive comment. 90% dislike this video, but in the video he says 95% of Americans are for what he's saying and what he's propagating is H.R. 8. This is H.R. 8. And I have another question. If politicians are so convinced that so many Americans are on board with what they're trying to do with the red flag laws and this TAPS Act, the name of this act right here is the Threat Assessment Prevention and Safety Act, H.R. 838, brought about by Brian Babin from Texas. Why are they disabling likes and dislikes under their videos, and why are they disabling their comments? You can't make a comment under this TAPS Act presentation by Brian Babin. You can't make a comment on this TAPS Act where it's introduced by the likes of Dan Crenshaw. Look, you can dislike it, but there's no numbers. You can't make a comment on it. They do it within this video right here, and one of the tweets that Dan Crenshaw sent out. They're saying they want a conversation. Let's start a conversation. Well, how can you start a conversation when you disable comments? When you valve down the conversation, when you control the narrative. And then when you see what Steny Hoyer says, that 95% of Americans are for this H.R. 8 right here, but then 90% say they hate what you just said. In other words, they disagree. 90% of the people who watch this video And I encourage you, I'll leave this link in the description below. Watch this video, listen to what he says, and if you agree with it, just hit the like button. If you disagree with it, hit the dislike button. Let's conduct a little survey. Let's use this video to conduct a national survey. Make this video that I'm making right here go viral so that we can test the waters and see what Americans really think about HR 8 instead of us believing what politicians say. Pass this video around. I'm going to leave this link in the description and in the pinned comment, and let's conduct our own little poll. Let's see what Americans think about HR 8, this Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.